Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Grandma Show, where Tom and T chats with Bob Dub. Before we get started, please take note that the following content is aimed at a mature listening audience. Graphic and explicit language may be used at times, and listeners' discretion is advised. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual hosts or guests on this show do not necessarily express those of this or any other platform, nor of any of the sponsors of any of these platforms.
I'm not really that dangerous. I'm just walking around. You can go, sweet little guy. This is a pretty little town.
Listeners are advised that neither this platform nor its owners or agents shall be held liable for the content of this program. None of the material contained within this program may be rebroadcast, redistributed, or reused without the express written permission of the hosts or producer.
All right, today is our latest version of the Love Rebellion chats with Bob Dub and me. I'm Tom and T, and today we have our praying buddy, and we know them on Minds as BorisandKeraSimeonov. Nice to have you here today. So would you like to tell us a little bit about you?
Hi, yes, sure. I am probably not what people expect based on the names, but I have in my bio that I'm a fictional character. Initially, I created it as Kera Simeonov because there's actually a guy named Boris Simeonov on Minds, and I couldn't get the name. And so I was like, well, I'll just be Kera because I like Boris and Kera, like that combination. They're sort of like a duality anyway of characters. They're deep, they're closely connected. So I was like, well, I'll just be Kera Simeonov for now. And some people thought I was a lady for the longest time, and I was like, well, I don't really care because I don't mind being anonymous on here. And so I did that for a while, and then I was like, this is too weird. I need to be Boris Simeonov because this is gonna be like, what are these people thinking? They're going to be like, what kind of lady is this saying all this kind of stuff? And plus, if they're really like, they read it and they're like, wow, this lady's cool. They start getting interested in me. And I'm like, don't think that's going to work out too well for you there, Chief. It's going to be kind of bad. So I was like, I'll do Boris and Kera. That's then I was like, okay, I'm married, all that kind of jazz. So then people, that cuts any of that weird stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I didn't know at first that you were a guy either. I thought you were a girl. I thought Bob Dub was a guy and Bob Dub was a girl.
Right. Yes.
And there are people that think I'm a guy because my little thing used to be just Tom and T, but now I'm Rebel for Love Cat. Yeah, so
I wasn't sure either because I was like, Tom. I was like, is that like a Tom, like whatever, or is that like a Tom and something like that, like a person named Tom? So I was like, I didn't know either.
Yeah, I told one time, I think it was Censorship Sucks. My Tom and T was my third husband. His nickname was Tom. His middle name was Tom.
Okay.
And I've always been T.
I see.
So Tom and T.
I see.
And that's what I started out with. But when I first started my channel, way back, after I got thrown off YouTube, I used to repost for a guy who used to be on YouTube, and they took his channel long time ago because he was way too outspoken. And he told me, he said, hey, if you want to put my videos up so I don't have to deal with them anymore, more power to you. He literally asked me to do it. So I did. So when I first started on Minds, people thought I was this guy, Gabe Zola.
Okay.
It was really confusing. I had to create my channel from the ground up because when I first came over, that was my only idea on Minds, was to continue what he said.
Right.
So I had to kind of create myself from the ground up. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. And it's funny that we've got you here today, that way down the road of supporters, but early on, one of my supporters was Erigmar, the very first person that ever talked to me in the old Messenger. Then it was Willie Leave, a bunch of the ones that had been there before me that got me into the I don't want to call it game, but mine's is kind of like, you got to kind of know the ropes. You got to know how to interact. What's reminding? I remember when I first got there, all these little terminologies, but now it's become like my second home. When I'm not, I do other things. I do a lot of real life things, even with my legs not working that well. But it used to be that even when my legs were working well, when I wasn't in the kitchen, I was on the computer. And my son said one day, "Mom, all you ever do is you're on that darn computer."
Yeah.
So I've had sabbaticals. Boy, have I had sabbaticals. I always come back. It's family. And Bob Dub and I, she was talking the other day how far we go back. I was like, I do remember Bob Dub's channel early on. It was one of those ones, oh, that's cute. You know, the ones that you keep going back to, like, there was something there, but it wasn't like real deep, you know.
Right, like a pretty picture or something.
Yeah, just something that kept you. But those were the ones, over time, it deepened. You know, you just get to know them more and more and more. And it's funny that the further the family keeps going and the bigger it gets, the more we keep touching back with the ones that we used to know all those years ago. But you're one of the newer ones for me, anyway.
Yes, I haven't been on here very long, I don't think. It doesn't seem like, I don't know. My sense of time is pretty bad these days. I don't know what, you know, I don't know how long time has passed or whatever. But, it's kind of funny, like the path I took to Minds, because I initially was not on any kind of social media at all. And then I saw like all these weird things like from different social media platforms and stuff. So I tried like a couple different things to see what it was, you know, and some I just looked at them, you know, some I created like a kind of an anonymous profile just to, in case I wanted to talk to anybody I could, you know, and stuff like that. So, and then I found Parler. And so I got that, and I was playing around on there, and that's just exactly like what you said with the whole remind thing and all that stuff. Because I was just basically reminding everything on there. Like I'd see like any post because I just hit the button. I just didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean? So I don't know what I've said or reminded on Parler, but you know, so I on there I met Black Knight. And I saw that he was posting stuff about these books, and I was like in a weird funk state, like, you know what I mean? It was just like I'm like I have reached apathy level 9,000, you know, and I, you know, was just like, what is this guy talking about? Like, what are his books? You know, what is, because I see like he'd post a post about them, so I did an instant message to him or direct message or whatever like that on there. And I was like, hey, like, you know, I'm looking at your books. They look kind of interesting. You know, and cause it's like, I haven't read like cause I like sci-fi books anyway. I really like, some of the Isaac Asimov stuff, like the old, ones, like the robot series, like I, Robot. And then there's other ones, called the Robot series. You know, it's like oh gosh, I can't think of the names of them. I've got them like right over there, but I can't see them.
Yeah,
But some like Robots of Dawn and something like that. You know, but anyway, that kind of thing. So I was like, oh, a new sci-fi thing. You know, like what is this? And he's posting on Parler, so I suspect he's not posting about social justice warrior whatever something. And so I started talking to him, and he's like, oh yeah, these are my books. I've written 6 books so far. I'm going to write like 10 in this. And we chatted some more, you know, just like, so I found out a little bit. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to buy all 6 of this guy's books, because it's like, this is the kind of stuff, you know, like I want to support independent people.
Mhm.
And so I bought all 6 books. I started reading them. I read the first one down at the beach. We were taking a vacation, so I like read it on. I was like, oh man, I hadn't got them yet. So, and I didn't want to get them, like, because I knew I was going on vacation. I didn't want to get them like really fast. So I was like, okay, I'm going to order these and get them like slow shipping, whatever it is you could pick, like, deliver slow or
Right.
whatever. So I picked it to deliver slow, but then I was like, I want to read it. So I bought the first one on Kindle so I could read it like down at the beach. So I read it down there. I was like, holy crap, this book is good. And especially when I got to the part about Boris and Kira, I was like, holy cow, man, this guy is freaking awesome. It's like this, I really like this book. And I was like, man, and I've got like 5 more to read. This is awesome. So I got back home and I got the books. I got the paper copies, and I just plowed through them. I just read like all of them like really fast, and I would like I can't remember if I got off of Parler. I think I got off of Parler at some point because they were having all sorts of trouble. They were getting hacked and all this crap. And so I was like, whatever. They deleted the app, off the phone and all that stuff. I was like, okay, whatever, man. It's like, okay, the FBI is going to come knocking at my door any day now because I was on Parler, you know. And I probably like I said, I was reminding like everything. So I probably reminded stuff that's like some crazy stuff. Who knows, right? Because I didn't know what I was even doing. And so I was like, all right, forget that. I'm not worried about that anymore. So then I'm like, I had seen a guy from there. I think he was on, no, I had seen a guy. I got on Instagram as well because I wanted to be able to look at my daughter's school stuff. So I got on Instagram. I used my real name on that one. And I was like, getting on theirs, looking, and I saw this guy, and he kept referring to mines. I'm like, what the heck is this mines thing? And I think a Ragmar had, or Black Knight had some mention of mines as well. It's like you can see my stuff on mines or whatever. So I was like, okay, let me try this mines thing, see what the heck that is. So I got on there, and I see Black Knight is a Ragmar over on mines, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I like hook up with him. I'm like, hey man, I'm like this guy from Parler, and he's like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. It's like, and so we talk about that kind of stuff, and so get hooked back in together. And I really loved his books, so that's why I created my profile based on that. And my daughter is like a consummate pie chef. Like she is the best like baker of stuff. She makes the best cookies, pies. That kid has made what do you call them? Macarons, like the French macarons. And those things are ridiculously hard to make. And she made them and they looked good. And it's so funny because they're too sweet. They're just like so sugary sweet. I don't even really like them. So, but I had never had them before. So she cooked it and she's like, you got, and I was like, man, that's a lot of sugar. I saw her putting sugar in there. So, man, that's a lot of sugar. She's like, yeah, you have to get it to do like it's supposed to be. And I was like, oh, okay. So we did it. And it was like, I get it. And they looked great. They were like, wow, these things are awesome. And I eat one and I'm like, man, this is good, but it's like too sweet. And then, and then she's like, okay, well, I'll try it with less sugar just to see if it's any good. And tried it. It didn't do right. So it's like, okay, you got to have like it's got to be, right? It's got to be that kind of recipe. I said, well, that is way too hard. Don't bother cooking that. Cook some Danish butter cookies because those are excellent. Those are so good. They're like better. I mean, they beat macarons into the ground. They're like Boris. They're like Boris fighting some of the bad guys in there. Like, Danish butter cookies is Boris and the other guys are macarons. They just like crush them. And so so I was just like, cook that or cook something. And she did some different variations of cookies. She'd throw in walnuts and stuff like that. Just all these great cookie recipes. And she'd modify it a little. And just all these things. So yeah, so that's why I got the pie. That was a pumpkin pie that she cooked. And we were at the beach at that time. And I think, that was actually probably when I started reading his books, as a matter of fact. Because I because that was, I think it was around Thanksgiving or something, and so that was a pumpkin pie she cooked. So yeah, so that's my profile picture. It's a pumpkin pie that my daughter cooked for us, and I was like, yeah, I love her. I'm a lover of pies, and as I don't know if you guys probably can't tell, you don't know so much. I like different languages and stuff. I put that in my profile as well. It's like I like to see languages and see their connections to each other, because there's a lot of connections that you just don't even realize for language, like for English and French and all this stuff. And it's kind of like, why is our spelling so crazy? It's like, oh, it's because some of the stuff came from French, or like German or Old English kind of stuff. They're all connected sort of. So I find that stuff fascinating. And then Mines was awesome to me because, Ragmar's from a different country, Bob Dub's from a different country, all these people, from different places. And it's like, wow, this is awesome. And this was a cool thing for me. I was able to connect with a lot of people across the world and just have some real connection. So yeah,
that's a fascinating thing, isn't it? I
Yep.
think about it. The one that we had with Erigmar and Authentic Antique Arms.
Yes.
We had me in the United States, one in England, one in Romania, where I think that
Bulgaria.
and
Yep.
then Bob Dub in New Zealand. Like, oh my
Yes.
gosh!
I know. We cover the globe.
Yeah, talk about a worldwide family, man.
Mhm.
We're the microcosm.
Yes.
I think it's amazing. But
Yes. Me
it's
too.
funny that we interacted when you talked about your channel being with the pie and your
Mhm.
name being a
Right.
girl.
Right.
When I first saw the channel, I knew the name inference, but I'm like, oh, this has got to be a girl.
Right, because it's got a pie. It's pie sitting there or whatever, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's just kind of funny.
Yeah, and then how I got to know you, I sound like an advertisement for Minds, but honestly, I love the new chat. When it first started, I'm like, oh, what a pain. I like what I have. But I got over there, and that was how I really got to know you more, because that's where everything grew. And
Right.
I'll have days that I'm over in that chat room way more than I'm on Minds proper. But it's where
Yes.
the friendships have developed.
Yes.
And that sprang from Erigmar. I mean, we
Yes.
keep going back to him all the time on these chats, but for me, if you want to talk about the father of our movement here, it kind of has to be Erigmar.
Yeah, he's like the central spire of the thing, or the central, whatever connecting point for us, because it's like how we all kind of got together. He's like the glue point, or the connection point, for all of us.
Yeah. And when you were talking about the cooking, it made me think of Anitza in the story.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Fascinating things that he makes. And
Yes.
Justin just said today, talking about cooks, my son, I'm so glad I'm having more trouble walking all the time, because boy, am I learning to love, this guy can make some food.
Oh.
And I'm learning that don't think it's just women that can cook.
No, there's a lot of great chefs and cooks and stuff that are guys. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's like either one.
Yeah, but he said something today, and it's true. I saw those beautiful things that you showed your daughter's tarts and things, and I thought, oh my God, the beauty in it. And
Yes.
my son, we were talking about how this line of cooking, my great grandmother, we used to say she put her finger in this recipe she made. It was a Pennsylvania Dutch tomato and macaroni with, it had beef in hers, but it was an old Pennsylvania Dutch recipe. Nobody could make it the same. So we used to say she put her finger in it. And Justin was just saying, you know why my food is so good, Mom? And I'm like, why? Because it's love.
That's right. Yeah.
But if you want to talk about Erigmar, I don't like going this way often, but I kind of see him as almost like a prophet, a watchman kind of. He's woken up a lot of people on Minds, and some of the things that are happening on Minds are well outside his purview, no doubt, because the way our intertwining rings of our family are. But when I think about this group of, I don't know what else to call it, faith warriors, man. We are, there are some real, you're a prayer warrior. I'm an encourager. I mean, there are so many. And I think of these people, one of them calls himself something that's like a movie star hero. He's going to be on our show later. I'm not going to give his name yet because, boy, it's going to be blockbuster when he does.
Oh, okay.
But this other one that we just interviewed goes around with the knight armor. It's just, oh my gosh, it just does something to me that we are all feeding into this thing that is bigger than us. And I keep going back to this. We're going to make changes. People are all, oh, this is it. This is over. What a mess. This world is. No. We are not going to. We are going to stand up. We are going to put on that armor. And some of us are already wearing it. And we're saying, right. I am not consenting. I am standing for change. And everybody we've had on here is part of that. They're all right. They're not seeing it like, nope, I can't do anything. I just, I love it.
Right. To be aware of what's going on, see where it could go, and then do what we can do to make it not go to the worst case. Because if you don't do anything, these people that are steamrolling over us are going to do what they're going to do. Like, they're going to not stop until they do whatever they're going to achieve, you know? And they're ruthless, and they've got, like, you know, they have resources and all that stuff. But the Roman Empire had a lot of resources, you know? Yeah. And it didn't stop Christianity. And all this stuff has a lot of resources. Like, China has a lot of resources. And I know quite a bit about China just from personal experience. And there are Christians over there, and they are like real Christians because they're in the crucible. They're getting crushed, you know? And that's the real Christians right there. That's the guy that's like, no, I'm just going to stand for my faith. Well, we're going to kill you. Okay, I'm going to stand for my faith, you know? And they kill him. And then some of the people that see him get killed are like, how could that guy stand for his faith? Like, we're just like threatening him, and he's peaceful, and they just killed this guy. Something's up. Something's weird about that guy. Like, why does he have that peace? Yeah. That he can just get killed and not even, like, he didn't even bat an eye. And we're like punching him in the face, and we're like beating him, we're doing whatever. And he doesn't waver because he knows. And in fact, this is so funny because it ties in with what I was teaching the kids today, because we were talking about creation, and we were talking about how sin entered the world. And you can see in that story that, you know, Satan is there to offer that fake prize. You know, go for the tree over here. God gave you all these other ones that you can eat freely of. You don't have to work. You don't have to do anything much, you know, compared. And I mean, they were tending the garden, but you know what I mean? It wasn't like, you know, hard work. And you got all this stuff you can eat, plenty of stuff. They're laser focused on this stupid tree that they're not supposed to mess with, because Satan is like, hey, look, this tree's better. Look what I got that's better than what God has to offer. He doesn't offer you good stuff. He's offering you bad stuff. Look, you're getting killed because you believe in this God. You know, you're going to die. Do you think your God can save you? You're going to die. We're the Chinese government. We're the Communist Party. We can do whatever we want to you. It's like, look, it's just my body. I can die. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to lose my soul. Not for you. Certainly not for Xi Jinping or whoever, Mao, you know, whatever. You don't, you know, not giving it up for you. Sorry. Made that choice. So it's like, it's the same kind of thing. So we talked about that this morning with the kids and stuff, and it was like, it was good. And it's great to see like kids thinking about the stuff and trying to get them to like see what's going on, and like and for me too, to think about it like in a way of what it really is, you know. It's like, because there's all these things in our life that we see as the good thing, right? I mean, everything can be like a good thing, right? It's like, oh, my wife, my kid, my whatever, my house, my car, all these things, right? It could have some video game, whatever, you know. All these things seem like good things, but and they are. I mean, they're good things, but it's like it's not the best thing. I wouldn't give up. Like, I mean, there's like a whole different. There's levels of stuff, right? It's like, okay, donuts are good, you know. So, but I would certainly give up a donut before I gave up my car.
Sure.
My car before I give up my kid. That kind of stuff. It's like, I'd give up a lot of stuff before I give up my wife. you know. So, and it's that kind of thing. So it's just a lot of that kind of stuff. I think about this stuff a lot nowadays, especially.
I found what you said about China fascinating. I've been really, really interested in China and the difference between the Chinese people and who they are and what they believe and the Communist Party. It seems to me very awkward and complex.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's like there's a whole bunch. It's very complicated because, I mean, as you can imagine, right? There are, how many? It's like probably almost 2 billion people by now. I don't know, but I think their population is declining. It's like 1 point something billion, but they had the first year of population decline, like since they've been doing better. But it's a lot. It's like 1 point some billion, right? And so you can imagine. I mean, the United States has 300 and some million people, and we're all like so different between ourselves. I mean, my wife and I are different. My wife and my kid. I and my kid. We're all got something different. So China, you can imagine, there's over 1 billion people. So there's every spectrum of people, and there's the way China is set up. There are like these huge cities with so many people just jammed in there. And then there's like these farming districts out in the country and stuff like that. And it's weird. It's like a weird thing, at least from what I've observed. I haven't been in a while, but like from the times I went, it was very strange to see because they'd have these farming districts and they'd have like this big apartment complex sitting there. And I'm like, what is that? I asked my wife, I was like, why is there an apartment building like out in the farm country? And she's like, oh, that's where the farmers live.
Wow.
I'm like, what? They live in like apartments? And, it's like, that's weird. I mean, not everywhere is like that, but, that was one place I saw. And I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
And, so like, there's that kind of thing. So there's rural people. And I know people from there, and they grew up with a very similar mindset to me. And they grew up kind of same, like, play in the dirt, go, have stick wars or whatever like that. You do whatever you're going to do. You play and you have animals and maybe farm animals or whatever. And you just grow up in that country life. And that's in China. And that's like that could have been the United States. I mean, the same kind of thing, and probably New Zealand and probably Africa, that same kind of stuff happened, right?
Yeah.
And so China is interesting, but then then you've got the Communist Party, which they kind of I don't know what exactly happened, but it kind of loosened up for a while, and things got a lot better for the people. And because when my in-laws were growing up, it was terrible. They were in a terrible situation. Like they were the rich landowner type people. They were getting shafted by the government. They stole all their stuff. They they treated them bad. They had to write like a report of all their thought crime, basically. They had to go live with the farmers to learn from the farmers, even though they're like city people. Go learn from the farmers because Mao was like a big farmer thing or whatever, although he was really stupid, I guess. He didn't know how to He didn't really know how to farm well, but you know, so he caused like a whole bunch of famine and death and all this stuff, you know. And my in-laws were going through this, and they were like starving, and you know, they go from like riches to rags, basically, is instead of the other way around. And so yeah, so they suffered greatly. They couldn't even hardly get married. It was like a big hurdle for them to even get married because they're two pariahs of society. They're in the bad caste, basically. You know, they don't have castes, but you know what I mean. It's in that sense of the word. It's like, oh, you're the outsider. You're the crappy, bad people. So, you know, but it's like everything. It's like anything that happens. You know, some people will persevere and will do whatever. And they became not wealthy, but like they became successful after working and doing what they could. They didn't just sit there and say, oh, I'm, you know, I'm in a bad situation. I can't do anything or whatever. No, they did what they could. And my father-in-law told my wife, said, you get out of China. You come to the United States because it's the only place that's like decent. You know, you can actually do something there. And, you know, she's like, why? I don't care. China's pretty good. I don't speak English, you know, whatever. He's like, I don't care. He's like, you're going to the United States. So he made her study, made her learn English and stuff. And she came, and, you know, and we met, you know, and so that's when I learned about like a lot of these things. And then we got to liking each other and stuff, and we got married. And so I learned a ton about China, you know, over that period of time that we've been married. We've been married quite a while. So I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot of Chinese. I've learned a lot of just Chinese culture and just history of stuff. And then I talk to people from China regularly. So I know a lot about like what's happening and stuff like that. You know, like in general, I can't ask them directly like certain things, but, you know, because I don't want to get them in trouble. But I know a lot about things that are going on. So, and it's like, you know, I told her dad that he should write a book about this stuff. He's like, they'd kill me.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? And you know what makes me sad is that they're here and now they're seeing it happen right here.
Yep, I know. It's the same thing.
It's not. And when you said all the stuff you were saying, it made me think it's not these people in the countries.
Oh, no.
It's not them we need to be angry with. It's these overlords that have taken the countries over. And it's not the people's will. It's like what's happening here. And we feel powerless.
Yeah, it's not the people's will at all.
Yeah.
The Chinese people don't. I mean, they propagandize them quite a lot, you know, obviously. So, you know, they'll get rah-rahed up, you know, oh, rah-rah, China, United States sucks, blah, 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 all that stuff. I when I went, some guy told me, he's like, you can't be American. I'm like, why? Why can't I be American? It's like, because you're not black. Black people, America's all just black people. Because he had only seen like movies and sports things, you know, all these black guys like athletes and stuff like that, you know. So he's like, you know, it's like, you can't be American. You're like, you're somewhere else. You're lying. I'm like, whatever, dude.
Yeah, people say that to me about I come from Africa.
Right.
And then when I'm white and they say, so is your husband black?
Right.
Sorry, guy, I didn't make the cut.
Right.
I'm one of those evil white ones.
Right. Yep. Yeah,
and
exactly.
talk about oppression. Bob Dub comes from what was Rhodesia. No longer, doesn't even have a country anymore.
I know.
Because it was taken over by communistic things that were being run behind
communists
by China. Communism.
Yep. Exactly.
It's spreading its ugly head everywhere.
Everywhere.
And I do believe. I just keep seeing the semblance of the Bible in it. It's the
So
beast.
do I. So do I.
And that's what we're fighting. And a lot of people are afraid of it, but I keep thinking back of Tiananmen Square, the guy standing in front of that tank. You know?
Exactly.
And that was when things did get better for a while because people were like, no.
Yep. Yeah, it did get better for a while. Yep. And it was much freer. I've been to Tiananmen Square, and I was there, and we were saying Mao was a piece of crap standing in Tiananmen Square. You know, and it's amazing, like, you know, to have been there. I've been to the Forbidden City, to the Great Wall, you know, all these cool places and stuff, and it was amazing. Like, you know, just the way it was, and then like you know, and then I walked by. We because my father-in-law said, check out this cool house here. You know, it was in wherever they're from. And I was like, oh, that's cool, man. That's like a really fancy thing. That's like a museum now. He's like, yeah, that was my dad's.
Wow.
Yeah, they stole it. The commies stole it.
Amazing.
He's like, I have to pay a ticket now to go to my house. I have to buy a ticket.
Boris, why is it? What is it about communism that does this? Why doesn't it have checks and balances like all other sort of governing bodies?
I think what happens is the people that think that there are the people that are like true believers of communism. You know, we're going to share things and we're going to work together, and like it's going to be great because the people, the workers need, you know, need rights. You know, because these companies are crushing us, crushing our people. You know, and whatever, we need to like overthrow these evil overlords, these evil capitalists, because they're just like they're stealing all of our resources. They've created this company that makes us work as slaves, and you know, so that like that people are disenchanted. You know, it's like, this sucks, man. Like, we're working at this crappy job, I can't make enough money to live. This guy's sitting in a thing with a jet, you know, and freaking palace, and he's no better than me, you know, and he doesn't even do any work compared, you know what I mean? Like, you know, he's, you know, that's how they think, you know, that the CEO doesn't work really, like, compared. And so they get into this mindset that it's going to be better like this. But the thing is, the people that go and become like these figures for that, right? Like, so Mao, like, and Stalin, these guys have a lot of charisma. So they're like, yeah, the party. And Hitler, you know, he was the same kind of thing. He's not communist, but it's the same kind of thing. It's the totalitarian idea, not, you know, it's not just like communism. So you can put whatever label on it, you know what I mean? You could, because I mean, our form of capitalism in the United States is not a great thing either. I mean, we've got like this oligarchy or something, you know, here in the United States. It's not like a true capitalism like what we want, you know, where people are freely trading, and you know, you really can rise. I mean, granted, I rose up from poverty to success. You know, I'm successful, so is my wife. You know, we're both, we worked hard, we became successful in this broken system, and you know, we have achieved what we wanted to achieve. You know, I don't want to be like a billionaire or something like that. You know, it's like, because it's, God, I don't want to be famous, because it's like fame is terrible. You know?
Sure is, isn't it?
Right. And so it's like, I don't want those things, but you know, it would be nice to have enough money, decent house to live, maybe the back deck, like Tom was saying, you know, that kind of thing, right? Like, you know, you, something cool, like some nature nearby you, something, right? Something decent, right? So, but these totalitarians, they don't care what you have. They just want the power. They want control over you, and they want to use you as like a pawn, you know, and they want to get these groups, you know, like in China, they would have these groups like stirred up against each other because they had the Red Guards. I don't know if you ladies saw that, that woman, gosh, I can't think of her name. It's something Tong, I think is her last name. Maybe Tang if you would pronounce it like Americans. But she was in the Red Guards when she was a kid. And I've heard stories of the Red Guards going around to people's houses, dragging an old grandma out of the house, making grandma kneel on glass, on broken glass, and people are just like hiding in their houses, scared, because these kids have come, like, because they're teenagers and whatnot, they come and, they have no way to defend themselves, and they're scared, and they don't even think about defending themselves because they've been cowed. They've been in this, they've been taught not to fight, don't stand up, just be like, whatever, keep your head down, keep quiet, because everybody's a snitch. They build these cultures. They build the culture of snitching. They build the culture of dividing groups. They get groups that are not really sanctioned by the government, but they kind of are. They just do all these weird things. So I think that is what happens, with any of these ideologies. It could be anything.
He thinks we should be out there. Well, the problem with that is a lot of the people that are sitting behind these keyboards are afraid to get off these keyboards and go out there.
Yes.
So it's people like me that are saying, hey, yeah, we can have this community here, and it's a great community, but don't forget there's a front porch. There's neighbors next door.
Right.
We go out and talk about going down and controlling the spring that's just a block over. I mean, we're actually thinking about things like this. What if everything goes? And as Christians, you look at the revolution that we had here. What those people were. Now, not all of them were Christians, but they did most of them believe in a creator.
Right.
And they decided that because the creator had laws that were higher than the government, that it was not only their thought plan and their hope, it was their duty to stand up and say, no, we will not let you roll over us, because we are individuals, but we value something more. There is something bigger, and we don't have to listen to you. So what if you kill one of us?
Right.
That's what, when you hit on that, the art of losing, right now we're kind of losing Christians all over the world. And what made them so strong in China? Persecution.
Yeah.
They were taking their churches and bulldozing them, but those people didn't give up.
Nope.
And if we're going to get anywhere here in the United States, it's going to be the Christians that have to stand up, the real Christians. I am so sick of all these wolves in sheep's clothing.
Yes.
Because you see it. I used to teach Sunday school, and I know not all churches are, but I could see it. My son could see it. I've taught Sunday school for years and years and years. Took my own kids, and the first thing my kid said when he came home, oh my God, that place is fake. And it cut me to the quick. But I just went through that my last teaching I did 2 years ago, right when this pandemic started was when I stopped. But my whole goal had been, the children are the ones we've got to teach. They've got to know, because they're hearing from the schools, be godless, do whatever you want, be
it's the forbidden fruit. Here's the forbidden fruit for you guys. Take it. It's great. It's really good. It's better than God. God's no use. This stuff is great.
And look where it got us. And the church did the same thing. They went for the wealth. They went for the big building. They went for the jets. And here we got these Christians over in China with their churches being torn down, and they're praying, and they're still surviving.
Africa too. I mean, there's like the Muslims coming through, killing the people, kidnapping their kids, and stuff. Even kids were standing up, like, to like the Boko Haram or whatever. It's like, come and stealing their kids. The kid is like, I'm not converting to Islam. You'll have to kill me. And they kill the kid, And it's like, but that kid's in a better place. So.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes that. Not everybody is going that route. Just because you do have to take that risk. I put up a post a while back about the people that signed the Declaration of Independence. What happened? Yeah. Some of us are going to go down with the ship. But we just showed with Christianity, we made it through the age before Rome. We made it through Rome. We made it through the Dark Ages. We made it through World War I. And those things, those governments have all fallen, but
Yeah, they're
Christianity
gone.
still here.
Yep.
It is still here. And if you read your Bible, and we do really blow it, it's not going to end, because God will say, oh yeah, well, fine, I've had enough. But man, we don't have to let it. I want to inherit the earth. I don't want to get well. I want to inherit.
Right.
And I see that with you. I want to go a little different tangent, because you talked about how where you've gotten where you are is by suffering, and how you've lost, but now you've gained things back. Can you talk to us about what happened with losing a child before you had Grace? Would you be willing to go there?
Yeah, sure. So we had been married a while. We waited before we decided to have children, because we wanted to get to know each other better and have like a good like relationship together. So we didn't, and plus we're educated, so we're like, we're got careers, we're pursuing careers and stuff. It's like, so we did that for a while, and then we're like, we're ready to have a child, and let's try for that. And so the first child, we were going to our first ultrasound, and the lady's like, I'm sorry. Like, we're looking at those, and we're like, what? Because we see this baby, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? We didn't even know what's going on. We were excited because we was like, oh man, look at the baby. It's so cool. And she's like, I'm sorry. It's like, it's dead. Like, there's no heartbeat. We're like, oh God, so we're like, okay, what do we do now? We're just like, we didn't know what to do. And, so we're like, I don't know. I mean, my wife was crying and just like, whatever. I was not doing good either. Like, we were just very stressed out. I was in shock, to tell you the truth. I didn't even cry or anything. Like, at that time, I was just like, what? It's like I got hit in the face with a frying pan. It's like, those cartoons, bong. And so I was like, just devastated at that point. Then it got worse. So we had to go and get the baby out, because it wasn't coming out naturally. Like, it just wasn't going to come out. And so they did the same procedure as an abortion, but the baby was already gone. And we didn't know. We were young and stupid. We didn't even think about like certain things. Like, we didn't have a funeral for that baby. Like, we didn't even think, like, they just trashed. I have a baby in the trash. You know what I mean? Like, wherever. Maybe they got the parts sold. Maybe my baby's in a vaccine or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? Or being used for study stuff. Who knows? I don't know what they do with them. You know what I mean? And so I don't know if it's a boy. I don't know if it's a girl. And so we lost it, and like, then had to have the D&C. Well, my wife gets an infection after the D&C. They do another one to like get rid of the stuff. I think they give her some antibiotics or something. They do another one. She gets this weird, like, she starts having weird pains. Like, whenever her period comes, she can't have a period. She has this thing called Asherman syndrome, and it's not very common, but it's like when your uterus scars together, and hers scarred together right at the cervix. So it was like right at the neck of the uterus, so it's scarred shut. So you ladies know how it is to have your period. And if that were blocked, can you imagine what you'd feel like? And she was not doing good. She's like really sick, and the doctors gave her a bunch of hormones to try to get her uterus back to whatever, because they didn't know like what was wrong. And then she self-diagnosed. Like, she got online and self-diagnosed, found a group on Yahoo at the time, and this called the Asherman syndrome support group or whatever like that. And that lady is like, that lady is like awesome. that created that, because she's helped so many ladies. And so we're there, and we're like, okay, we think we got Asherman syndrome, whatever, like that. And the doctors are like, okay, we can do the surgery. And my wife had looked on this group, and she's like, don't let the group was so funny, because they were like, don't let those butchers touch your uterus.
Wow.
Don't go to the whatever doctor you go to, whatever. Go to only these A-list doctors. And they gave an A list, a B list, and I think they even have a C list. I can't remember, but they had an A and B list for sure. And it was by country, like it was all over the world, because the lady that started it's in Cyprus. And the doctors wrecked her uterus. She couldn't have kids, so she's never had any children. And so we asked the doctors, what would this surgery take and whatever. 7 or 8 hours, have to do laparoscopic surgery, blah, 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 all this stuff. Okay, well, how long, how many have you done? None. And we're like, we're not going to be number one. See ya. And so we went to California, and that's all the way across the country for me. And so we went to California, found the A-list doctor there, because we didn't want to go to New York. It was like we just didn't want to do it. We had friends in California, so we're like, we can stay with them. And so we went, got the surgery. The guy was awesome, best doctor ever. I love that guy. I mean, he's like the best doctor ever, And it's it worked out great. Like, because of that, like he like insurance paid for it. And even though it was in California and it was like a weird thing, and it was great. My work was great. Everybody was great there. I had people at church helping us, like back home, like they brought us food and stuff, like, whatever, when they found out we lost the baby and stuff. And so that was when we really made the connection to Jesus and to God. Like we were supposed Christians, we're sort of Christian, nominal, kind of the mere Christianity Christian from like C.S. Lewis, if you ladies have read that.
Yeah.
We were not even probably the best of that. Like I came from a cult background, so I was like not even half sure of what was right. It's like I'd read all this weird stuff, and then, I mean, God protected me from some of it. I didn't get into too far down the rabbit hole on that, but it was still weird. And I, we went over to California, got it all fixed up. We stayed there for several weeks because we had to have follow-ups and everything. And even he ran into a little bit of trouble, like when he was doing it, because he said he went in he was going in with not having to do surgery. He was just going in up through her privates, going up in, but he couldn't get through. And he's like, I've got to do like a laparoscopy because I can't see. So they ended up doing laparoscopic surgery, and they fixed her up that way. And he's like, man, I'm so glad, because it's like if I'd have done it, I'd have poked right through her uterus. And then we'd be done. It's like, I don't know if we, it's like, and we were like, well, could she have been okay after that? And he's like, well, I don't know. I mean, the uterus is like, maybe, but you don't know. It would have been a lot worse.
Yep.
And so after that, a while after, we got pregnant again. And because, we got to the point, and they told us the chances of having a kid is not much. We were thinking of adopting, we're thinking about adopting a kid. And we ended up like getting pregnant again, and we were scared to death. We were just like, what in the world, man? This is like, this what if this kid has the same problem? You just do all the what ifs.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't really trusting God that much, because we did at the time, like when we were suffering, we were in the crucible, and it was easy to trust then. It was weird. We felt like, yeah, we felt the connection, you know what I mean? We felt like we were having that connection with God. And then when things got better, we sort of got lackadaisical, everything's good and whatever like that. And then we're worried we're going to lose the baby because we didn't have any faith really. And we prayed a lot and stuff, and we thought, you know, we had our friends at church and stuff and whatever praying for us because, you know, we're sitting there worried, and the doctors were like, don't travel far, do all this stuff, you know. And my wife was 9 months pregnant when she had to go to another city to get her citizenship. Like, so we were doing the citizenship stuff all this whole time, you know, like going through all that mess. Well, she's like 9 months pregnant. They're like, if she starts going into labor down there, you come back to this hospital, because we were at like some whatever hospital that's really good, and they were like, you come here. You don't stop any other hospital. You don't do whatever. You don't deviate. You come right here. And because they were worried too. They're like, oh man, and they had like really good doctors on, you know, like for her, set up for her and stuff, you know. And baby wasn't coming, and so we had to have a C-section. So they just scheduled it, and then we did the actually no, did she start having labor? I think she did. I'm sorry, she started having labor later, you know, not at the citizenship thing. That was fine. That went smoothly. That was just a worry for us. We get back here, time passes. When's this baby gonna come, man? You know. And like, I think they did schedule it. They did schedule a C-section, but they also gave her like some stuff to make her like to induce labor. And it wasn't coming. Baby was like, nope, you're not tricking me. I'm staying in here. And so we had the C-section. Perfect. We never had any problems like throughout that whole pregnancy, no matter how we worried and what we thought might happen and what if and all this terrible stuff. You're never going to have a baby. You're going to die. Your wife's going to die, and, you know, whatever. We didn't have any trouble. It was perfect. So we named our daughter Grace after that. So, and we're like, you know what? God exists. We know he does. And he's proven himself to us over and over and over again. And, you know, and that's what we tell people, you know, it's like, that's just the way it is, you know. And, you know, people will say that he doesn't and all that stuff. They have their reasons. I mean, they've suffered. They've had bad things happen to them and stuff like that, you know. Everybody does. Everybody has had terrible things happen to them at some point in their life, you know.
It's funny you mentioned that because I went through something similar. I had placenta abruptio. It's not a condition like your wife, but it just happened, and it nearly killed me. Yeah. And in that situation, I had a near-death experience, and that near-death experience is what brought me back. I had grown up in Southern Baptist Church, so I was exposed to it. I believed it, but it was like you said, that near, I believe. Kind of,
Yep.
Yeah. Well, when your life is bleeding out of you and you're up, I either saw Jesus or an angel, but at the time I was sure it was Jesus, but it was the same thing. It was because of something like that. And before that, I had also had a miscarriage that was far enough along that I had to have the same thing that you were talking about with your wife. And in that situation, I had left a marriage that was violent. And I had no insurance, had no money. The baby was dead. The same situation. And I had to go to Planned Parenthood of all places. Yeah. So there's a lot of similarities there. And even with the third baby that I had, my daughter, after going through that death experience with my son, she was a breeze. Just like you were saying with Grace. Right. No problem, no nothing. Nothing. The way through. Yeah. She was 3 weeks late, and I told her,
Grace was
you aren't touching me with that Pitocin. So she came 3 weeks late. I went in at like midnight. At 3 a.m., it was just so fast. 3 pushes, she was born. And it was like, and we prayed that whole time, dear God, we cannot go through this again, please. And like you said, he answered, you know, it's there. And I've gone through periods of time where I was successful. I've gone through times where I had a brand new house in Denver. Right. But I've also hit right back to the bottom. That's just the way I bounce like a ball, you know. Yeah,
that's what we say too.
But when you get in that bottom is where you get the strength. As much as it hurts, as much as you want to scream and cry and moan. the refining happens when you're down in that
Yes.
gutter.
You have to be in the crucible to get refined. You have to be under the pressure, you know. The fire is there, the crushing weight of all the stuff. That's when you get it. It's not in the time when, oh yeah, man, I just won the lottery and I've got like you know, whatever the stuff, you know. That's
You
not
might
when
say,
you
thank you, God, but you're like, yeah, I can handle it.
right. You think you trust in that. You know what I mean? We trust in all of these stupid things, you know. It's like we trust in money. You know, money may have no value. I mean, they were like wallpapering their house at somewhere with money. I forget what country it was, but because the paper money was worth nothing.
Worthless.
Yeah. And I'm probably like Rhodesia was like that too once it became Zimbabwe, because like the Zimbabwe dollar or whatever it was, just it became worthless. They had like, it's like a million, forget what the currency is, but
Dollars. Yeah.
dollars it is. Okay. Yeah.
Useless.
Yeah. It's like a million Zimbabwe dollars is like a penny or something crazy. I don't know what the real exchange, but you know what I mean?
I think they were the
And,
first country in the world to issue $1 million note.
right.
I think
Yep.
a loaf of bread costs $3 million.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. It was something like that. Yep. It was crazy. Yep.
Like the Weimar Republic having to take some
Yes.
money in wheelbarrows to go
Yeah.
get your loaf of bread.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
God doesn't need, I tell you what, I have been, it's so shocking when you're down there and you're poor. I've had people give me food that I didn't even ask for when I was
Yeah.
so poor. Some lady
Awesome.
across the street used to bring me donuts. I mean, it's
Oh
not the
man.
best food in the
No,
world.
but it's food.
And
It's better than
people
nothing.
giving you clothes. There's,
Right.
I mean, God works. Yeah, God can use money and certainly does, and uses
Yeah.
wealthy people. But
100%.
God doesn't need money.
100%.
I know it's a tool. It's a
Yeah.
tool.
The thing is, what we've decided and what we've learned over the years, because we didn't know this either. We were striving to make money. You know, we're working, make money. That's our goal, and we can retire and do whatever we want to do, whatever. And we're like, God was like fifth or sixth on the list. You know what I mean? And then it's like, you know, we were like, this money is God's money. You know, it's for his purpose. This is not for our purpose. This is not for us to have like fancy cars and fancy stuff. You know, it's like, this is for God's purpose. So we can use this to help people if we can, you know, and you know, we can help the church, you know, we can help other people, you know, you do whatever, you know, but that helps people. And it's like, as God calls you. I mean, there's always people that are wanting something. There's always people that want something from you, whatever, like the schemers and the whatever like that, the scammers and the political parties and the whatever, the charities, you know, oh, save these poor kids here. And, you know, 1 cent out of every $1,000 will go to them. You know, that's for the real story, but you know, they don't tell you that, you know, but, you know, so it's like, no, this has got to be used for God's purposes now. We've found that out. It's not our money. We've got to be like using it for something that's good. And, you know, buying Ragmar's books, buying some of his merch, helping him as an independent author. I help another guy monthly. I send him money because he's been out there for years. And it's Alfonso Rachel. I don't know if you guys have ever even heard of him.
No.
But yeah, Alfonso Rachel, he's actually a Christian, and he's like a drummer in a heavy metal band. And he's like, it's cool. Like I bought like one of his albums and stuff, and I like send him money because it's like the guy's out there telling it like it is. And you know, I'm like, I had a calling for that. It's weird because I was like, why am I like, you know, why do I need to give money to this guy? I need to do it, you know? And so I did, you know, so I do. And it's like, he's pumping out good stuff. And I don't always catch his videos, but he had like, gosh, some hundreds of thousands of followers on YouTube, and they shadow banned him because he's telling the truth. So I was like, well, I'll help you. I can give you a little bit of money, you know? And so I do. and so stuff like that. So it's that's what I've decided. But don't put your faith in the money. Money's not going to do anything. I mean, it's like, and don't be greedy for money. Every time I was greedy, I lost money. Every single time in my life.
Amen to that. I have to say that. But that gets back again to the community thing. Because when you know that everything you have basically comes from God. Yeah, you worked for it. Yes.
Yeah.
I think about Japan. I have to get back to, I saw this thing about that tsunami in 2011. Look at all those things that those people worked for.
Yep.
Washed away.
Yeah, it's gone. Just washed away.
In a minute. So don't think that everything you work for is yours, because it can, and I've seen it. I've literally walked out with nothing but a suitcase, and then once with nothing but the clothes on my back. If you don't think it won't happen,
I know. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you wouldn't have, Bob Dub wouldn't have thought her country's going to be gone.
No. And I think one of the things about my country being gone is that I don't think it went fairly. I think Africa now belongs to the Chinese.
So do I.
And when we were there, when I say we, the colonialists were there, we had this loyalty or responsibility that we felt towards the indigenous people.
Right.
I'm not talking at government level. I don't know what.
Right.
I was young.
I know what you mean.
But
I know what you mean. Like people to people.
So every single farmer, because they're big ranches there, because it's a semi-arid sort of place where the ranches. So every single rancher has his own little village on his property where he builds a little school and he builds a little shop. And all these little village communities were nurtured by the local farmers.
Right.
And when the Chinese backed the war, the terrorist war.
Yep.
And now, so everything that we were doing, all the things that we had put in for the benefit of the people, were taken away.
Yep.
And when I left Rhodesia to go, well, it was Zimbabwe then. When I left Zimbabwe to go to South Africa, because we were thrown out the country, my maid begged me not to go. She said, you don't know. She said, you hear in the papers of people complaining about white people, but we don't want to work for black people. We're never, ever allowed to have time off. We become slaves. They won't pay us. And for me, it was too late. I was on my way. I'd been kicked out.
Right.
But for me to, at that stage, understand the injustice that was happening to the indigenous people.
Right.
We were being thrown out. We had other places we had to go.
Right.
But the people who stayed, they indentured slaves. And like I say, $1 million note. What the people... Anyway, sorry, that's kind of a little bit of a blether, but
no, it's good.
I have seen it, and it has been shocking. And I do feel very resentful that what we were trying to do and how we were trying to uplift the people was squashed, and now I don't know what I'm saying. I'm sort of saying clown world.
Yeah, right.
In
exactly.
1983 or 2 or something. Everything that we had tried as Christians, as colonialists, as people who believed that we were God's messengers to the world.
Yeah, you're helping, right.
And it was turned around. It was made that we were the evil ones, that we were racist, and that we were oppressing the people.
Right.
And and the world backed the what were called the freedom fighters, but were in fact behaved like terrorists.
They were, they were communists.
How terrible some of the abuses were that I witnessed from that.
I'm sure. I believe it. Yeah. I know. I've watched a few videos. I don't know how I came across it, but I found this like Rhodesian patriotic song,
Yes.
and it showed like some footage of like guys there fighting and stuff, and apparently like in the United States they had like this magazine called Freedom, Soldier of Fortune, and Americans would actually go and fight in Rhodesia, you know, against the communists and stuff. And it was interesting. It was like an interesting history. I watched a historical video about it, and I watched that patriotic song. And it's like, and it's like, wow, this is cool. I like it. I like that song. And I'm like, it's kind of like, I feel for what they felt, you know, and then to know somebody from there, it's like, wow, that's cool. That's like a much cooler song now, you know.
Yeah,
To,
it's true. It's true. Well, we
yeah,
were very naive. We were
right.
very naive. We were very innocent.
It's the same here.
We believed in God. We believed
Right.
that God was on our side.
Right.
All the white people. It's hard to talk in. I still talk in African terms where people talk
Mm,
about whites and blacks,
yeah.
but all the white people believed strongly that they were God's representatives, and what we were
Hmm.
doing was part of God's work.
Right.
And it was never meant. We never saw it as racism. We never saw
Right.
racism, and I see that
Hmm.
happening in America now.
Yep.
The same thing that I experienced there, and all I can say is all I can do is put it down to communism, and I
Yeah.
can't.
It's
That's
the
why I'm
same kind of
asking
thing.
all our guests, tell me about communism.
Yeah. I
I
know.
sort of can't understand. I sort of can't believe it.
I know.
It can be a
The,
political
the,
ideology that can just murder people
yeah.
indiscriminately and get away
Be,
with it for
be,
centuries.
because it is attractive. It is that forbidden fruit, because people think that it's something that it's not, because they, on paper, it sound. I even have a friend, he was telling me, he's like, man, I read Marx and stuff, and I read about like communist stuff, like the Communist Manifesto or whatever. And he's like, man, this guy is so smart and so cool. He has such great ideas, you know, of all this stuff. And then my friend was like, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Like this, you know, they people don't do that.
Mm.
Like that's, it's not, it doesn't work that way. Because what happens is somebody, some charismatic guy comes in and he's like doing this stuff, and he doesn't really care about helping anybody. He doesn't, and the thing is too, it doesn't have God. There's no God in communism.
Right.
The state is the God, you know. So it's like that, it doesn't work because it's not reality based. And people will say, oh, you're stupid, you're a Christian, you're not reality based either. Flying spaghetti monster is more real than your stupid God or whatever.
Yes.
So, but you know, I mean, facts and truth are what they are. They're true, you know, and it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter how much you say they're not. You can see it time and time and time again. These communist places it does not work. And they have tried real communism, because real communism is a big pile of skulls at the end.
My
Poverty and a pile of skulls.
I have a very, very, very darling, sweet, lovely sister who's just a honey. And through this whole trauma that I've had, she's been my absolute right hand.
Mm,
And one of the things that I found, actually, I think that this interest maybe in communism has grown up in me since Carly's death.
mm-hmm,
One of the things that I found was that I couldn't interact with people normally anymore. There was this
mm,
huge tragedy in my mind, and normal life was irrelevant to me.
right,
And so I couldn't read books. I couldn't distract myself from my misery.
right. Yeah, you were in this loop.
hmm And I
Mm-hmm.
found myself reading Viktor Frankl's
Uh-huh.
Man's Search for Meaning. And then
Mm-hmm.
after that, Solzhenitsyn and the Gulag
Mm-hmm.
Archipelago.
Did you read that? Yeah.
I
I've
know.
read parts of it. Yeah, I
I
haven't
don't
read
know
it
that
all
I've
yet.
finished it. Yeah, I've
Mm-hmm.
got, and it's also been for me this sort of unbelievableness, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
said to this dear sister who's been my rock, um, communism, something that's so bad, something that I got from the world,
Mm-hmm.
said to me, communism's not as bad as all that. It's not the worst thing in the world. And I think that was when the panic levels started to rise in me. That this
Right.
amazing woman who is on
Right.
top of her game, on top of her world. I mean, she's just opened her own business.
Mm-hmm.
And she could say to me, she has been brainwashed by, and I was too. I was.
Mm-hmm.
We'd lost Rhodesia. We were obviously the wrong
Right.
ones. We were obviously in the wrong. Along it
Right. Because you
thing,
lost. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it must have been in the right because it won. And I
Mm-hmm.
must be being racist because
Mm-hmm.
what
Right.
the solution could it be? And
Right.
and then after that, I came to, of all countries in the world, New Zealand,
Uh-huh.
strongly socialist,
Mm-hmm.
strongly socialist, and seen a lot of goodness come out of that.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And our strongest trading partner is China. And so
Mm-hmm.
since like the 80s up until now, I've just got used to the encroachment of communism.
Right.
And since
Mm-hmm.
Charlie's death, been woken up to the fact that this is actually a huge, huge, terrifying danger that,
Yes.
and it seems to be, to me, but it could also just be confirmation bias. It seems to me that it's women who have bought into it far more strongly than men.
Yeah, I've actually read that communism is more of a female motherly type of ideology.
Mm.
And because, the state's taking care of you, because that's a nurturing thing. It's like, we're all sharing, we're cooperative, we're not competition. It's that kind of thing. The government's there. It's going to be like, it's the government by the people. We're all working together. It's the people's stuff, whatever. And, people's whatever, the products are people's coffee, and people's whatever, it sounds great, right? And it's like, oh, but, people's coffee is made in this factory with slave labor, and there's iron bits all in the coffee and screws and dead rats and and all this stuff, because there's no incentive to do what you need to do, like to make a good coffee.
Yes.
There's no reason to do it. Would you work hard if all of your stuff goes to me? Like you work every day, work hard, work 12 hours a day, and then your paycheck just comes right to me?
Yeah.
You'd have no incentive.
No incentive. None. Yes, it is. It's. I've been thinking with the being on mines for me, I have strongly felt that there's a huge movement of the Holy Spirit.
Mm,
Sometimes I come onto mines, I find it so powerfully. I feel I get burnt. I don't know how to explain that.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Really? Do you? Okay.
Mhm.
And I've been recently thinking to myself that Jesus used to talk, or the Bible talks about people being fishers of men.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering now if it's that I don't even know how to express this. Let me just say it. It's as if people are being fishers of women.
Yeah. Right.
We've got to
Yeah.
we've got to get the women out of that feeling that
Right.
everything will be fine if we do it the woman's way.
Right.
Because everything is not fine, and we've tried the
Right.
woman's way. And like I say, I've bought into the whole slowly being infiltrated, shall I say, with the
Yeah.
communist
Sure.
perspective.
Yeah. Of course. It's
I,
easy.
I'm the one that I have to say, I believe that I could be a strong woman. I believe that
And you can,
a divorce, yes, yes,
but
but I just took it in a different way.
yes.
And
Right.
I took it that divorce was right because I had to
Oh,
get
I
divorced
see.
to get out of a situation that was terrible and I didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
went to people
Understand.
and said, how do I cope with this? The only advice I could get was on how to leave my husband.
Mm, I
Mhm.
see.
And so
Same
I said,
here.
well, obviously that's what I must do.
Step in here and say something. You know how you said you feel the feeling of the Holy Spirit moving, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
what does the devil do?
Right.
The devil imitates, right? And the devil, if God seems more patriarchal, which most people would say, correct, then this imitation, this socialism, this communism being motherly is
Right.
coming right from that dark evil, the evil itself that wants to, oh, God thinks God can do it that way. Well, we're going to do it the women. What did he do at the very beginning? Who did Satan go after?
Right.
The women.
Yep.
And he wants to divide us. He wants to
Yes.
separate us because
Right.
what are we? Face it, women, we're weaker. We may be strong in some things, but
you
we're
have good,
weaker.
right. You have good qualities. It's like you have different qualities, but you're not physically as strong, generally.
And we don't have we don't think the same way. We
No, you
think
do not think the same way.
and what did they do? They separated us from the masculine and left
Yes.
us hanging out in the wind.
Yes.
And Satan used that. If you go back and look at the Passion of the Christ, who did it show Satan looking like? Androgynous, more female than male.
Right.
He's using the dark side of femininity
Right.
to destroy.
Yep.
And not just women. It destroyed our families. It destroyed our cities. And now it's destroying this beast. It's not just China. China is just under the thrall.
It's a tool. It's like the Assyrians, the Babylonians, all those same kind of things. I mean, whatever was in power at the time, the Assyrians were like, nobody could touch them at the time. They just would come and just kill, do whatever. They just basically could do whatever they wanted to with your place, take you out of there and put you in another country. So that's amazing. Like back then.
You look at Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The one.
Like he was like a god to, in terms of power. I mean, if Nebuchadnezzar said, jump, just keep jumping. Don't stop jumping, or I'm going to kill you.
What did God turn him into?
Right.
Eating grass?
An animal. Yeah, he's mindless out there, But
Yes.
but it's like you say, like because the interesting thing about it to me, like you say, who doesn't love their mom? Who doesn't love moms in general? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Everybody loves their mom. It's like we have a saying here, mom, I think, what is it? Mom, baseball and apple pie, something like that, Tom, it's like goodness. It's goodness and light, right? I mean, you can't go wrong with mom, So if you have a motherly, nurturing thing, apparently, if you seemingly have that, then, how can you be against that? How evil are you? Why are you so evil to be against? Do you hate mothers? It's like they were with the whole vaccine thing and stuff. You're killing my grandma. Who doesn't love their grandma? It's the same thing.
Again, it goes back into that God isn't male. God isn't female.
Yeah, he's so above us. It's not.
Yeah,
we don't even
that's
have
why we quit trying to say he. We really quit trying because God isn't he or she or God is love. That's what we've been saying because God is balance. God is all of that. And God did send us Jesus, but Bob Dub and I have talked on this before. The Holy Spirit seems feminine. And I think that's the feminine aspect of God, this kind of glory. That's why the devil goes after that, because that's the appealing side. That's the emotional, the soft, the love. But they're forgetting that other side, the
the
firm.
internal.
Yeah, like you just said, mom, baseball, and apple pie. Well, what about dad? What did dad bring?
Yeah, exactly.
What are we not having now?
Yeah, that's
Dad
what.
brought order.
Yes.
Thought.
Dad brings
strength.
I'm a lot stronger than my wife. Like, if somebody came into this house, who's getting their ass kicked? If the guy is better than me, I'm getting my ass kicked first because I'm going down there to fight, But I'm the one capable, the most capable. And in fact, I watched. You just reminded me of a podcast I listened to because the guy was talking about this, and he's like, even the fattest slob couch potato guy there is. If somebody comes and attacks their little kid, he's going to try to fight to the death. And it doesn't matter if he's capable or not. You know, he's going to fight to the death. And that's what dad is. Dad is that strength. He's the protector. You know, that's the mindset. You know what I mean? Like he's that kind of thing. He's the stabilizer somewhat in things. You know, he might be a little rash sometimes. He might have a stupid idea, you know, that's like, you know, or like a violent idea, you know what I mean? Or whatever, like a more not thought out, you know, not always. I mean, men can think too. We're very good thinkers. I mean, logical thinkers and all that. Women are too. But, you know, we may be a little more brash. We might be a little more, you know, rough. But sometimes you need that.
I think that women don't understand men. I think that women
Yeah.
have had this whole thing of anything a man can do, I can do. I'm just as
Right.
good as a guy. I deserve this just as much as a man does. Blah, blah. And
That's
that's great.
yeah, that's true.
But then in New Zealand, it horrifies me.
Right.
Even on the radio, on adverts, women, are you sick of waiting for your husband to fix that plug in your something? Why don't you
Right.
do it yourself? Because these useless men are so useless. And
Right.
I don't know what it is, but it's that attitude.
I know what you're saying. It's the attitude.
And the men, women have become empowered, which is great.
Yeah.
But men, or now that they're empowered, they're disempowering the male half of the population.
Trying to, yeah, right.
And I
exactly.
see that in Africa. I see that in relationships myself. I find that when I've broken up with my husbands, which is a shameful thing to say, husbands, I have started behaving like them. I think that the same thing happened in Africa when the white governments went. The black people, the black government started behaving like the white government. And it's as if when something is removed, the people start behaving like it. And women tried to stand up and speak against abuse of women in the kitchen, in the home. That was great, and it really needed to be done. But the men have now stepped back, and they're trying to do nothing at all.
Right.
And now women seem to be taking on that abuse role themselves because I don't know, that's kind of my own pet theory at the moment.
Yeah,
It does
understand.
seem as if there's a lack of balance, as if it's gone too far.
This is why I like my name on the Minds. I like my fake name on Minds because Boris and Kera Simeonov, Boris and Kera, because without Kera, Boris would be like, I'm pulling the freaking moon down and I'm crushing the earth and I'm going to kill everybody, you know, and I'm going to like, you know, whatever. I'll just like, you know, just rip you to shreds. I'll just kill everything. You know what I mean? Like on the Tazaran planet or whatever, you know, I'll just destroy you guys. You'll be nothing left, you know? And Kera is like, life has value. Life has a connection to the universe, you know? You need to be soothed, Boris. You know, it's like, here, let me help you not feel so angry and like tragic because you suffered terribly, you know, but so did I. But, you know, it's like, I understand you and I'm a little softer side of things and I can help you balance that because, you know, without the balance, I mean, without my balance of my wife, I'd be like Boris. Oh, I would, hell yeah, I'd be like Boris. I'd be like, you know, if I could do that stuff, you know, if I could have, and I always joke about it on mine, it's like, I need artillery, you know. It's like, you know, because people are talking about, oh, you know, whatever, guns and stuff like that. It's like, guns don't do it. I've got to have artillery, you know. And so, but yeah, I'd be like that, but it's not right. I mean, it's not it's not a balanced approach. It's not how to deal with stuff. You know, you have to you have to have that balance of things. You got to have the wife's perspective, the female perspective. You got to have the male perspective too.
The
We're not
Native
made.
Americans, don't they say, I just read it, somebody, I just saw a meme about it. They said the way that the government should work is the women do what they want and we give the final nod. And I was thinking, there you go.
That's pretty
We
funny.
got, but at least they're working together.
Yeah,
And
they
it's
work
that
together.
balance of that. We keep going back to that word.
Yeah,
And
it
I've
is.
said it with my son. My son balances me because we're
Yes.
both really deep thinkers.
Right.
And I'll go off on this crazy tangent and
Sure.
he'll come in and he'll say, oh, Mom, come on.
Right. Yeah.
Get back on. And that's what a lot of people miss, is that they don't have that balance. So for
Right.
those, like Bob Dubs, she doesn't have a husband. She doesn't have a son nearby. She does have people around her. So hopefully there's balance there. But for the ones of you, I know there are people that listen that are completely alone.
Right.
So if you're a female, what is your balance? If you're a male, what look up?
Right.
Because your friend, Jesus said he is your friend.
Right.
And God he can be all, God, there I go saying God can be all things to all people.
Right.
So if you're a widower, like my neighbor next door, that he comes over here for balance, he's got his family, literally. He's got a real family, but we are the other one, the next door family. So when he feels that, where does he come? The widower comes to see the widow.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, there has to be that balance. And I think what happened when Bob does saying, why? What happened? And we've said it before, the women being empowered like they were and not given that balance. When I've temper tantrum, I don't know what other word to call it, because I was in that too. I was right in the middle of it. I graduated in 1974 when you were throwing your bras away and throwing your men away and loving the one year, all that. And what did it get me? It got me 3 broken marriages, and only one of they all called themselves Christians. But when you get down into the pit, who's the real Christians?
Right.
And really none of them I was unequally yoked. Even the best one of the 3, I was unequally yoked. But at least when I was with them, I had some of that balance.
Yeah, you had the male counterbalance,
Then when you walk away from that, and Bob Dubbo and I have talked about that too. Now what? What? I am post in a relationship. So then what's next? And I think what we hit on is that our next is like what it said in the Bible and like what the Native Americans have done. The old women sit and tell our stories and pat the young ones on the back and say, get back out there, Johnny. Go back out there and fight.
Yeah.
So we don't have to go back into that. For me, that's going backward, because then I have to adjust to another person. And now I don't have to do that anymore. So I have to remember to keep that balance between me and God even stronger. And not everybody can do that. Like for Bob Dub, it may be different. She may say, oh, I ran into this really godly guy. It's going to work this time, and it will. And for her, that might be the way. But for me, I'm Mary Magdalene. I'm the one. My pockets aren't that deep, but they're deep enough that, like you, I support other people. And I'm not going to say who and how, but I do. And I don't want to embarrass them by saying so. But that's who I am now. I'm Mary Magdalene. I'm the one sitting here saying, okay, apostles, I know he's alive. Now you guys get up and go do something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. That's right. We need each other. I mean, we're made for each other, We're not like, it's not like men are some great thing up on this high tower and women are way down here, or vice versa. Women are up on this pedestal and men are like worshiping at your feet. No, it's we're equal. We're equal, and we're not the same, but we have the same value. Like, a human has a human value. Every human has some value, you know, and there's debate about communists being human or not, but um but every person has some value.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I used to find that was on World of Warcraft.
mhm
Amazing thing. Every time you kill something and you loot it, it has something on it.
mhm
Everything has loot. Everything
mhm
has value.
yep,
The thing is that the higher the monster that you defeat,
right, higher level.
more loot you can get off it. I
Sure.
mean, I've learned so much from video games.
I know, it's crazy some of the stuff you that's what I was telling you, like that one time I forgot what it was. Oh, I never knew kiwis grew on a vine. I always thought kiwis were like on a tree or something, you know what I mean? It's like I just didn't know.
Yeah,
And it's like the strangest weird thing. I never really it's funny, I never looked it up because I often look up like these things, but I never knew that until you showed a picture of a kiwi vine.
yeah.
And I was like, "Holy crap, man, that's so cool."
The first time I knew was when I came to live on this orchard. I've never
Uh-huh.
told anybody because I thought I was so silly.
That's funny.
Like,
Yep.
there was this big vine in the tree. There's a big
Yep.
pine tree,
Right.
and there was
Uh-huh.
a big thing going up it. And I said, "What's
Uh-huh.
that?" And they
The
said,
heck
"Oh,
is that?
that's
Yeah.
the wild fruit."
Right.
Just like mustard, when you get back into that time and this time,
Uh-huh.
in Israel, mustard seed, yeah, it's the smallest little
Tiny.
tiny seed, but it can be a tree. It will
Mm-hmm.
literally grow into a tree. And
Right.
those people, when Jesus told that parable, that's kind of what we're doing again. We're talking in parables
Yeah.
sometimes, and
Right.
other times we're being more direct. But
Right.
those people knew that little tiny thing could be a tree.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is this little tiny minds, this little light of mine, it can be more than just mine. These lights can light each other up.
Right.
And I think that's what I'm so glad you came on, because you were lighting up our light and nobody
Good.
even knew who you were.
Good.
So now they know that you're the light behind our light.
Good. God is the light behind me, so it's like that's good.
That's right. That's
That
right.
brings me back to hierarchy and patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned it earlier, and we have this thing in our social discourse at the moment about how patriarchy is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
There is a hierarchy, right? You can't undo the hierarchy. But there is a network as well, and you can't
Yes.
undo the network.
That's right.
And you have to have these things working together.
Yes.
Do you think that women balance themselves into hierarchies on their own? Or do you think that's a specific male thing?
That's a good question. I think they sort of do. I mean, just I've noticed like how some they are more cooperative. I have noticed like in some ways than men, but men cooperate too.
Yes.
But we form, and it's weird, because I think this I've come back to this podcast that I listen to, and I think this guy is right on the money. Sometimes he's not a Christian, but he's quite good. Like he's quite wise in some ways, because he noticed things about men and stuff like so. Like for example, I could be the alpha or the whatever in some circle of men, but then in another circumstance I'm not the best at that. Like say if I was going to be writing something, I'm not going to be the best writer. A Ragmar is going to be like the alpha of that for me. So it would be like me and whoever else and whatever, and I'd probably be down pretty low, but you know what I'm saying. So but then if it was like some other skill that I'm good at, I could be the alpha of that, and then we'd take these different roles. So yeah, it's kind of like I think that even exists. I mean, that exists for women too, because some women have like certain skills or whatever that make you the thing. I mean, like, you're grandmas, right? So you know about grandma stuff.
Yeah.
If there's some young lady coming to you, she doesn't know anything about grandma stuff. I mean, she knows that grandma gave her some candy or a cookie or something, you know what I mean? And grandma's nice, that's about all she knows, but she doesn't know how to be a grandma. And, so you can teach these things and help. I think there are, and I think it's a flow. It doesn't it's not static.
Yeah. No, it's not at all.
Mhm.
That's interesting.
Love is alive.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's it. What do you think? I was very, very surprised when I asked Ragmal what his vision for the future was. Because
Yes.
reading the books and everything, I
Mhm.
really get this sort of vision that we're going to have to fight for everything, right?
Mhm. Right.
I'm trying to understand what fighting means, but
Mhm. Right.
oh, I've gone.
I think there's many ways.
Yeah,
Yep. Just as many ways as there are people.
Right.
Our fight is to be patting the guys on the back, whatever you got to do. Chris wants to do it one way.
Right.
Rush wants to do it. We're just the ones saying, you can do it, guys. You
Right.
can do it. And
Right.
some of us may have to pick up our gun. But, if we do, it's more going to be in defense. We're not going to
Yes.
be the one, come
Right.
on.
Yeah.
Let's get serious. But it doesn't have to be that all of us have to fight. Like,
Right.
he also serves who only stands and waits.
That's right.
But you do have to understand that we don't want that. Our fight doesn't have to be. That's why I keep saying pray, pray, pray.
Yeah,
It is
definitely.
so powerful. The act of observation changes the outcome. So if you take that act of observation and then pray out loud, don't just say it in your head, breathe it into the atmosphere. Make your voice count. And don't just go out and say it in the front yard if you're brave enough to go to your city hall or your school board. Christians aren't supposed to just, yes, we do stand and wait, but we're supposed to do exploits. We're supposed to occupy till he comes. Did his disciples do nothing?
No, not at
Look
all.
at Paul.
They did a lot.
Yeah, Paul. He made his own living making tents for people, but he went out and conquered Turkey. What is Turkey now is no longer Christian, I'm sad to say. But really, come on. And we think that all we're doing is sitting here talking. Yeah, maybe me and Bob Dub. But somebody else is like Ant, Authentic Antique Arms. He's building a bar for when they're tired of fighting.
Right.
We don't want to fight, but we want to come.
Right.
Come on, and we're going to be under the cross of, you can have your worldly power, and we've all been drawn by it. Even Authentic Antique Arms, I wasn't sure how spiritual he was at first. Oh, I found out. They're not hearing it from me and Bob Dub. They've already heard. The spirit is out, like she said, it is out in force. And I just read on the Prophecy Club channel, it's not the old Prophecy Club, but the guy said, watch out, we're going to have miracles again. The end of the last age, what happened? They turned everything upside down with miracles. So watch out. And you might not even, like you were saying, your wife couldn't have children. Well, look what happened. Miracles.
I know. There's a lot of stuff. We've looked back in our life, we've seen so many things. And it's like, holy cow, man. It's like, this is amazing. The fact that I'm alive today is amazing. Just based on the stupid stuff I did as a kid, It's like God was watching out for me for whatever reason. He knew that I had to do something, and and I guess I'm doing whatever. I don't know if I'm always doing the right thing, but it's like I try to do what I can do now. Like if I'm hearing those little tugs and stuff, I try to do it. Especially if I need to pray for you guys, it's like and I often feel that tug. And I'm like, okay, I need to pray for these ladies and stuff. And I don't always put the little hand symbol because I'm busy doing stuff. Like I might be doing some other things. But yeah, I'm praying for you ladies all the time. It's like, it's like, oh man. And it's funny because it's not like, oh, I need to pray for both of them sometimes. It's like, oh man, Bob Dub needs something right now, I think. I don't know why. I don't know what. So I'm like, okay, pray. And it's funny, sometimes my prayer is like the stupidest prayer because it's like, God, you know what she needs. I have no clue, right? And just give her what she needs right now. Help her and let me be helpful if I can, if not, let Tom and T help her. Somebody, whatever you need, like, you know what I mean? So I pray for that kind of stuff, a lot of times. I mean, it's just all sorts of stuff. Sometimes I pray for specific things. Obviously, if I know what's going on, I would pray for a certain situation or something like that. But Yeah. So it's my vision for the future is probably, I mean, I like Ragmar's vision for the future. It's pretty good. I quite like that. I wouldn't mind seeing something like that too, where we could at least travel between countries much easier. And because I want to go see and talk to people from all over the place, because I had a great experience in China. And it was so weird, like, you know what I mean? You know how tall I am, bobbed up. So it's like, so it's like, I'm not the tallest. I'm not like short, but I'm not like the tallest person. And in China, I was like heads and shoulders above people. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like a freaking giant,
How
you know?
interesting. Gosh, what an experience.
I'd love to be able to just go and pop in and see Bogdan tomorrow, and
Yeah,
then
me too.
go
Yeah,
down to
exactly.
Brazil and see Eric
I know.
Babel in
Yeah,
Brazil, and then,
right.
oh, wouldn't
Yep.
that be
I know.
so
Yeah,
much
it'd be
fun?
awesome. I know. Yeah, invite you guys here. Like you could go to different places, like whatever. Like you could just come over for stuff. We could do stuff together. You know what I mean? It would be amazing, especially if we could get like the whole crew of people together.
Oh,
And even if we don't see that, if we don't get lucky enough to see it coming, somebody is going to.
Yeah.
Not all of us are going to get there,
Right.
but the ones that, I don't know, I might. I'm not going to.
You never know.
You never know. There may be a little secret formula, but
Mhm.
it's still what we accomplish together.
Right.
It's worth whatever, because I think Bob did mention it before about being refined in the fire. You see,
Yeah.
silver is right when you can see your reflection in it.
Mm.
So if we are being a reflection of God and really reflecting it like you are, and like we try to carry it on, we all have our strengths and weaknesses, but
Obviously.
we do. We try to pass that candle on. And if one gets extinguished, there's going to be 3 more to light it up.
Yep.
So, and even that one that you didn't think, I told Bob Dub about the thing I saw out on the porch of the porch light, and the way it was around the hummingbird feeder. I could just see, because of the hummingbird feeder, all those insects around. And there might be a hierarchy between them, but did I see that? No, I saw that unity, that drawn to the light.
Right.
And it's not the fake light. It's not the false light. It's the light that you feel inside, and you will know. Because like you said, the evil one wants you to find the things that will destroy you.
Yeah. And it looks appealing. It looks so good. What's wrong with having a Lamborghini? What's wrong with having like a giant house with like whatever this stuff with a swimming pool and like whatever? What's wrong with having like all these beautiful ladies, if you're a guy, whatever? Or what's wrong with having like 5 different husbands? Because just like, I'm tired of this one or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like all these things that look good on the surface, and it
even
just
this thing
destroys you.
The skin suit is going away.
It's going away. I know.
The thing that's me isn't what this is.
Right. That's not us. Right. Yeah, exactly. I know. Yep. And that's
so
what I tell.
Even if I don't make it with you, for example, or a Bob Dub, my spirit is going to be right beside you, and God's spirit is going to be right beside you.
Right.
When I think about that final battle, Eric Marr put it in his books. It's in The Hobbit. It's in so many. That final battle, if God does have to come back, the ones of us that went on ahead, we're coming back fighting.
That's right.
But guess what? That fight, what is it? All Jesus has to do is talk.
I know.
So not everybody's going to get bloody. Not everybody's going to. So keep that in mind. You think, just like they destroyed Fukushima that quick with a tsunami, what do you think this is going to do when we come back? So if we fail at our version of perfection, wait for what comes.
Yeah, it's the real perfection.
I still don't think he wants to do that. I think a creator wants. You're a teacher. What do you want? Do you want your way to be the only way? No.
Right. No, of course not. Yeah.
You
it's
want
not even
to
the best
carry on to be.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah. All right.
So
Whatever
keep your hope.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, same for you ladies, you know, because it's like, and it's like you may think, and like for me, I'm like, what good am I doing? I'm like some of the stuff, you know, but it's like you don't know. You don't know what good you do. Because like I became a Christian because an old, well, she wasn't old that old then, but because a black lady that was my friend's mom always talked about God whenever I came over to play. You know, I didn't care about God when I was like however old. I didn't even know what like really much about it. And like, and she asked me, you know, she's like, who is the man that died at Calvary? And I was like, I have no idea. And you know, my friend's like, Jesus. He's like kind of whispered as a kid. You know how kids do. So it's like Jesus, and I was embarrassed, you know, and that stuck with me because I was very egotistical even as a kid, and it that shaped me, and I was like, so this is, you know, that just like these little things. She didn't know that was going to be the catalyst. I mean, she had an idea because she knew, she read the Bible, like she knew about the Bible, but she didn't know that for sure. You know, she's just like planting a seed. She didn't know if it's going to grow or not.
Yep.
And there's other things that watered it. So yeah, you guys are watering me like for as I'm growing, you know what I mean? I'm hopefully watering you guys and like building you up some and helping you a little. I pray for you all the time, and that's what I can do. You know, I do what I can do.
You do
Yep.
a lot. It's amazing. Your prayers, I think, are answered often.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because
Mm.
I'm pretty much, yeah, no. I'm surviving, I think, at the moment because people are praying for me.
Mm.
Because
Well,
I'm not actually like firing on
yeah,
all the cylinders.
understood. Y'all.
Well, I'm really, really, really grateful to you for all the prayers, for the support,
Oh,
for
you're welcome.
honestly, I don't know if I
Let me know.
but also coming on and giving us your time like this and giving us so much good perspective. It's taking me one step towards balance. So thank you.
Good. Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime.
Thank you.
All
All
right.
right. You guys have a good afternoon
All
and
right.
good day, Bob Dub.
You too,
Y'all take
guys.
care.
Love you
All
lot.
right.
Bye
Love
bye.
you.
You too. Bye.
Bye.